Welcome to another episode of Going For It with Becker. I'm James Becker, and this conversation got me fired up today. I am sitting down with Michael Kitlas of Phoenix, Arizona, and Michael's story is one of the more interesting ones that we've discussed here on this show. Before real estate, he was a touring musician. He signed a record deal at 18 and played all over the United States and internationally. And yes, he still collects royalty checks, including a song that he did for a Scooby-Doo movie. You can't make that stuff up. 7 years ago, he walked away from all of it, dove headfirst into real estate, and he has never looked back. In the time that we've worked together, he's doubled his business, going from around 12 million to nearly 25 million in volume, with over 60 families served in the last 12 months. And he makes a little announcement on this episode that you're going to want to hear. We talk about the real secret behind his success, and it's not scripts or cold calls, it's mindset. How he rewired what he calls his software up here of his subconscious, and why he measures his year in families served instead of transactions closed, and how a $200,000 sale in a small rural town turned into a $1 million referral. If you're an agent wondering how to separate yourself from the 90% that absolutely fail and flunk out of this business, this is a great episode to watch. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Going For It with Becker, and I am James Becker. And Michael, thank you for being here. I'm excited to have this conversation with you, and you're doing some really great things in Phoenix, Arizona, and I've been hearing some wonderful things about you. And so let's just start this off a little bit. Will you tell us a little bit about who you are and what your background is and how you got into real estate?
Absolutely. So, James, thank you so much for having me on today's show. Very excited to be here. I've been with Fusion now going on, 4 years, going on 5. I've been in real estate for 7 years. I absolutely love every single moment of it. I feel like I really found my footing and finally found my calling. So I love all things real estate. My background's pretty interesting. I did not come from a traditional background, that most agents come from. I didn't picture myself as a real estate agent. In fact, I thought I was going to.
I don't think anybody does. I don't think anybody in 5th grade goes, I want to be a real estate agent.
That's true. That's true. I actually was on a whole different path. I wanted to be a rock star. So I signed my first record deal when I was in high school. I was the last one of my band members to turn 18, and so they all waited for me to turn 18 senior year. I signed my record deal, and then I hit the road touring with some of my best friends, writing music and playing music all over the U.S. and internationally. I loved it. I still have songs that play today, on MTV, ESPN, all over the place, and so that's was
awesome.
Very fun time in my life, and I did that for about 8 years. While I was on tour.
So do you get royalty checks in the mail on these things still playing?
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Quarter. We wrote the theme song, or we performed the theme song, and we wrote an original song for a Scooby-Doo movie. And they told me, I remember when we recorded it, they said you'll be kicked off of this for the rest of your life. And I
no kidding.
Kind of cool. So I should be collecting checks for quite some time.
Thank God for Nickelodeon.
I know, right?
Right.
So, things are good. I enjoyed doing the band thing. That was great. While I was on the road, I was actually getting my bachelor's degree. I have a bachelor's degree from Northern Arizona University, NAU.
There you go, Northern Arizona, up around 7,200 feet, right?
Yep, you got it. Your spots in Arizona, so that's over in Flagstaff, and so I actually went to school on a scholarship where we, had this agreement that I would write about touring the world and how you could still get your degree utilizing,
There
online
you go.
platforms. And so
Yep.
I may look young, but I'm not that young. And I was like one of the first to like full, like all online classes, to
Really?
graduate. So it's been a while. I think I graduated. I can't remember. It was back in like 2012, I want to say, maybe 2011 to 2013, somewhere in that time. And
Yep.
I didn't actually go to the campus until I had to collect my degree until I graduated. So it was quite the interesting experience doing everything from an online perspective.
That does sound interesting. So how did you get into real estate?
Yeah.
How did the music wind down, and then how did you go, okay, well, I guess I'll be a real estate agent?
No,
How'd that
absolutely.
happen?
So real estate for me, it was a little bit further down the road. So after graduating, being on the road, I said, being in a band, you have to be on the road touring 10 months out of the year, so it's a grind. I remember this, it's hard to have, relationships, family, friends, all the above, because you're always gone all the time. That's the only way you can really make
Yep.
money, or at
That
least
would be a really
back then.
tough way to live.
It was. And so as soon as I graduated, I told the guys, I said, "Hey guys, I'm gonna try it in the real world. I just got my business degree. I'm gonna go for it." So I actually exited the band on good
Yep.
terms, of course, with everybody.
Yep.
They kept on doing their thing.
No
Um,
Yoko Ono situation.
no, 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 no bad blood. In fact, I actually just
Yeah.
sold my drummer a house last month.
There you go.
Congratulations to him. He got his first Arizona home. So that was an exciting
Yeah.
little full circle moment, getting to help him
Yeah.
and his family
Exactly.
purchase a property. But
Yeah.
it I got into tobacco sales. So that was my first
Okay.
kind of out of college job. It
Yep.
was great. I enjoyed it. It was a good experience. That led me into a more marketing type of positions where I worked for different
Yep.
agencies doing some marketing. And
Yep.
as I'm going through these different jobs, I quickly started to realize that like the workforce that my parents told me about, that we learned about, in school and all that,
Yep.
did not exist. There is
Yep.
no work your way up the corporate ladder anymore. In fact, it was very apparent that you need to stay in your lane. We
Right.
hired you to do this. Don't go
Yeah.
outside of that. And I
Yep.
remember this, both at my tobacco job, like there were some marketing things where I'd go to the marketing department. I was like, hey, we should implement this. This would be great. This would really help us on the sales side. And that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in different departments. Like, hey, this guy
Yep.
fails. What's he doing over here? And then vice versa, the same type of thing at other jobs. I started to realize, oh, people aren't looking for good ideas. They're actually, I don't want to use the word intimidated, but that they don't like people stepping on their toes. Like, hey,
Well,
stay
especially in a
in your lane.
corporate world, it's less of an entrepreneurial.
100%.
Uh,
And yeah,
yeah.
I'm glad you bring that word up because I slowly started to realize, oh wow, I'm an entrepreneur. I want
Right.
to have my hand in a few different areas, and I need to.
Yeah.
It's in my
Yeah.
blood. I can feel it. I've got these
Right. You
ideas.
can't help it if you are.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
I started to realize that in the hard way by, understanding, oh wow, they just want me in this role, check in, put the work in, get
Yep.
out. And,
Yep.
I'd want to work later. I'd want to, open up this opportunity. And it was like, no, no, that's great. They'll handle this. So I slowly started to learn that, okay, this isn't for me. So during that time, I started going to online school again for real estate this time.
Yep.
It took me about, I don't know, 8 months to a year to get my actual license, doing it after work each day. And during that time, I was kind of training with some different friends that were agents. I met a builder that I started working with. Um, and from there, I got my license. And I remember telling myself, okay, I can try to do the half in, half out, start part time and try to work into this, or I can dive head first. And I chose to dive head first. I didn't have
Yep.
much saved at the time. It was pretty nerve wracking, going back 7 years now, almost eight, and being like, wow, I'm going to make the leap of faith. And it was the
Yeah,
best move I've ever made in my life. I hit the ground running, and I haven't looked back since. And I've loved every single minute of it.
yeah. I had a similar situation where I had another sales job and I got my license, and so on the weekend I held an open house. I had 14 people come through. I got 7 leads. I set an appointment with a gal the next day. I showed her 7 homes and I said, "Which one do you want to buy?" She says, "This one." I didn't even know what an escrow was. So
I love it.
I wrote an offer. We got accepted. My broker helped me do all of those types of things, and that's all I could think about was real estate. Like that's
yeah.
it. And I'm in, and I didn't have a bank account. I didn't have anything, and so it was burn the boats.
Yep.
For sure.
I
And
know that feeling all too well. And it was so exciting. I remember, pulling that first,
scary.
Yeah. Oh,
Scary is
scary, but exciting at the same
that's
time.
what I remember.
You know,
I was scared.
Can I make
Yeah.
ends meet? Can I make this happen? Luckily,
Yeah.
I was a single guy at the time when I joined and started in real
Yeah.
estate. So I didn't have the pressures of any family, children, nothing like that. So I was very
Yep.
lucky in that sense. And then, oh man, it was no looking back. I learned like, wow, I can work as much as I want, and there is no ceiling to this.
Yeah.
There's nobody holding me back. This is all on me. It was a great feeling. And ever since then, I have just been full speed ahead.
So you're from the notes I have, it looks like in the last rolling 12, you've done over 60 transactions, almost $25 million in volume. That's a heck of a great business, and I believe you just took on a little bit of license support help.
I did.
And so that's a new thing where you're becoming Beyonce. You have that experience already and getting your backup dancer, so to speak. But I mean, you're knocking it out of the park on a curved basis. You're at the very, very top. And so what do you believe is the secret to your success? Because as you know, 95% of the people that come into the business, they don't last. They're out, and more than half don't even sell a home ever.
Yep.
So what makes you successful from your perspective?
To put it in the simplest terms, I would say it's mindset. So when I'm going through this transitionary period in life, when I'm trying to figure everything out, I stumbled on several great books. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, one of my favorites. There's a gentleman named Neville Goddard. There's several different lecturers that I love to listen to, like Alan Watts, Ram Dass. There's a gentleman named Muji who had a huge impact on me.
Really?
All of these different individuals taught me how to think, what this world really is, how the soundtrack and the narration that we've got going on every day in our lives really and truly affects our success, the opportunities we see or don't see, and ultimately that changed my life. I started very slowly on this path right before real estate, which I'm so thankful I did. And from there, it's only snowballed and become greater and greater. So I'm a big believer in all things mind, body, health, very spiritual individual in that sense, all things metaphysical. But I started to realize there's a lot more to this experience than just this character that I've called Mike Kitlas for the last 37 years of my life. And it was starting down that road that really opened my eyes to how much opportunity is really out there. Our mind is kind of like software, and most of us have put really bad software on the mind in our early stages of life. 0 to 7 so I'm Jesuit educated. I went to Catholic school my whole life. So Jesuits have a saying that's give me the child from ages 0 to 7 and I'll show you the man. And
Yep.
it's because 0 to 7 are very formative years. It's when
Yep.
we're in a constant theta brainwave state and we're just
Yep.
taking in information left and right. And so
Yep.
it's during that time and, thereafter where we kind of formulate, how we see ourselves and how we see the world. So I learned about
Yep.
this and I started to understand that, man, I have some really bad software that I've put on this computer over the last
Yep.
27, 28, 29 years at that time. And
Yep.
so I started to rewrite that software. I started to learn how the mind really works. I started to learn about the subconscious mind. And it was
Yep.
from there that it was like a light bulb. It was like I found the skeleton key to life, is what I tell people.
Yep.
And
Yep.
no looking back. Everything changed.
I was having this conversation earlier, and like you were reading early. I used to read, but now I'm just a podcast junkie. So, I have two things that I do. I carve out enough time for me to exercise, like I'm investing in my health. And while I'm doing that, I'm studying and learning. And so I listen to mostly business types of podcasts and constantly trying to stay on the cutting edge of what's happening. And doing that, I see what other people are doing. And so you learn, not to limit what you can do, which I certainly did early on. Like I'm only as valuable as X. And then I would start to get to that. Well, maybe I can get beyond that. So then you move the goalpost down a little bit, so forth and so on. But I was listening to an interview of Mike Tyson, who the person Mike Tyson is today, I absolutely love. What an interesting life that he's lived, and I think he's a very wise man at this point based upon all the things that he's gone through. But the interviewer asked him, do you have negative talk or positive talk? And he says, oh, it's positive talk because Cuz, who was his trainer that adopted him when he was 13, he lived in an orphanage and just had a horrible childhood.
I didn't know
His
that.
parents were both sex workers.
Oh, wow.
He's in the same room. Like he like his childhood was a complete nightmare. But Cuz had told him only positive talk and had broken that, and that's one of the reasons that he was able to become the champion of the world. And then I was listening to a roundtable of founders, and they were saying, do you have negative talk or self-talk? And a couple would say, well, it's negative, and one guy goes, I just switched from negative to positive, and I was just sharing with someone, I have a lot of negative self-talk when things go bad, and I think that's what you're talking about, is this software where we just have this thing that we go back to, and I have to be really conscious not to allow that self-talk, that negative self-talk, to permeate what I think is positive or possible rather. And so is that what you're talking about, getting the mind to work?
That is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
100%. You're nailing it. That's exactly it. And so we have 50 to 60,000, 60 to 70,000, I've heard too, thoughts per day. And
Yeah.
95% of those are the same thoughts from the day before. And if those thoughts are, I'm not good enough, I can't make enough money, why does this always happen to me? It's this person's fault or that person's fault. How can you expect anything to change? It does not work that way. And so
Yeah.
when you can understand this from a thinking level, right?
Yep.
But implementing it is so difficult. And
Yep.
that's kind of the hard part. Sure, you can have this conversation. I have this conversation all the time. And people are, oh yeah, absolutely, yada yada. But as soon as we leave and they get into their car and that brain fires up, starts telling you about everything you got to worry about, why you aren't good enough, what mom and dad did to you back in the day that never should have happened to you. You deserve more.
Right.
We,
Right.
we are all running these narratives all day long. And
Yeah.
the majority of the world, that narrative is I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
I'm not worthy. And though that is a very common theme, most people have running through their heads at any given
Yeah.
time. And unfortunately, we live in a world, Western culture, that not only, drives more of that, but
Yeah.
flashes imagery,
Yeah.
fear-based
The
tactics.
comparison game is always a losing game.
It is, but the
Yeah.
society we grow up in, it fosters that. And in
Yeah.
fact, it enables that. Oh,
Yeah.
you've been wounded, you're a victim, let us
Yeah.
take care of you.
Yeah.
That's what we're told. And then we have, of course, like our American, we call it news, but it's propaganda, on our
Yeah.
different Fox, CNN, all these different
Yeah.
channels where everybody just
Yeah.
wants to share, their opinion of
Right.
what corporate entities want you to feel because you are
Right.
designed to be a consumer. And when
Yeah.
you understand this and you learn how to break out of this is when you begin to procreate. This is when you begin to see opportunities, as soon as you open the door. And that's what I'm about.
Yeah. Well, let's move the business for a minute. So all of this study that I've done, it all to me, particularly mostly investing in most cases, and I'm somewhat of a real fan of Warren Buffett and Charles Munger and the way that they've done things. It's all about compounding and allowing time to do its thing. And I see the same thing with business and allowing marketing to go. And I think you've really experienced that as well. You've been able to come in, adopt the systems, and allow the time to do their things. Tell me a little bit about how you see business and what are some of the elements that have helped you reach where, literally you're at $500,000 in GCI.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big fan of Buffett myself. Great, track record, of course, good,
Yeah.
solid advice and good wisdom. The
Yeah.
compound effect is absolutely real. I see it, in my business life. I see it in
Yep.
my stock portfolios. It's time in the market,
Yep.
that's really what it's all about. The sooner you start, the further you are ahead. When's the best
Yes,
time to plant
exactly.
a tree? Yesterday.
Today. Yeah.
That, that,
Yesterday. Yeah.
that's what it is. And so
20 years ago is the best time to start a tree.
that's
20
it.
years ago. The
That's
second
it.
best time is today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so it's true. It absolutely is. And I see this even like when I started out with Fusion. So you got to learn your strengths. And so I'm technically a millennial, but I'm at that age like where I didn't grow up with a cell phone. I got a cell phone later on in life.
Yeah.
I was still, playing outside with the street lights, drinking water from the
Yeah.
hose. I was still the
Yeah.
end of that type of thing.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
I'm not a good techie guy. I've never have been.
Yeah.
It's never been a strong suit. I'm not very active on social media. But I saw all this going on, these last 7, 8 years, of real estate. And I realized, man, I need to, this is a section of the market I have to get involved with. This is
Yeah.
important for my business growth. So then that's when I found Fusion. And I was blown away. I reached out to Fusion. I actually started reaching out to different agents all across the US that have worked with Fusion, 2, 3, 4 years to really get like
Really?
inside details. Like, hey, is this
Yeah.
company all they say they are? And here I am now, 4 years with the company. I could not be more pleased. And I've watched the compound effect from marketing to my sphere of influence,
Yeah.
getting mailers out every month, getting different content out, sending these different letters to different people that I meet, engage with, friends, family, past clients, clients that I've met with that I'm going to do future business with. It
Yeah.
really starts to build a relationship when you are
Well,
making.
it's building that brand,
It
and
is.
it's so important right now with all the AI, all this stuff going on. It's going to come back, I believe, to trust, because AI will just become a commodity. It's going to be tools, but you still want to have somebody who's involved that can interpret all of the information, because there's too much information to interpret.
So fun little story I'll share with you. I haven't announced this
Yep.
yet to anybody, but I'll do it here on our podcast. I was just
Okay.
voted top 5 most trusted real estate agents in Arizona. And I'm
Wow.
very
That's
excited.
awesome.
Yep, I got an article coming out. I've done the interview process. They just wrote their stuff, but this will be breaking this summer. I'll be working with
That's
Fusion, a
awesome.
bunch of video, content
Yep.
around this to really
That's awesome.
get this information and thank my friends and family, that have trusted me over the
Yep.
years. But
Yep.
that just came out, and I could not be happier to announce that because, like you're saying, with all the different moving pieces of AI, everything being online, the Zillows, the
Yep.
Redfins, all this stuff, what people are looking for is a trusted ally, somebody to say,
Yep.
you live, breathe, and eat real estate 7 days a week.
Yep.
I want to know I'm
Yep.
making good decisions for my family, for my investment, for my
Yep.
business when I'm doing commercial real estate. Because I do it all. I sell residential,
Yep.
I sell land, I sell commercial. And
Yep.
it's another thing you have to, be able to do is pivot during different markets. If you're only
Yep.
selling in master plan gated communities, the last few years have been pretty rough for you
Yep.
with interest rates.
Yep.
You
No,
need to be
one.
creative. You got to be
Yep.
out there. You got to be doing these seller finance deals. You got to be representing, sellers and buyers. You need to pivot when things
Yep.
are changing.
100%. Being the most trusted or top 5 trusted real estate agents in Arizona really means that you've embodied that number one fundamental that we talk about becoming the agent that you would actually hire yourself, which I think 95% of agents wouldn't hire themselves if they didn't know that they were them, and based upon the work that they do. And that is our number one fundamental. Because if you don't have a real product, you're not providing value, you don't have that trustworthiness, it's the career is going to be short, fleeting. And if you do have that, then the business can compound over a period of time, just based upon the goodwill that's being created. Do you have other fundamentals that you follow in our business plan? And if they are, which ones are they?
Well, I mean, like for me, my whole thing is serving others. I do
Yeah.
not count. I don't look at it as transactions. I look at it as how many families did I serve this year?
Yeah.
How many
Yeah.
families did I serve last year?
Yeah.
Perception is everything. How we look
Yeah.
at something, how we talk about something is everything. And so I try,
Yeah.
at least from my perspective, I always try to take the business out and try to, how much can I put of myself and serving others into the mix? And then I
Yep.
have found my success from there. Because when you're
Yep.
getting out and you're serving, it's crazy. The world, smile
It's
at the
so
world and
true.
smile back.
The agents look at stuff transactionally all the time. I'm not making that much money. Like, it doesn't matter. Just what is your business look like at the end of the year, and what is the momentum that you have going into the next year?
And agents
That's
are
it.
short-sighted there. They are. I just closed a
So
$2 million
much.
deal in Mesa, and that came from a $208,000 home sale in Arizona
Yep.
City, small little rural town here in Arizona. And they happened to babysit for this family, and they said, our
Yep.
agent's the best. You got to interview him. And
Yep.
it's because I don't care if I'm selling a $100,000 manufactured
Yep.
home or a $2.5, $3 million estate. I'm going to give you the same level of service because that's what you deserve as a person, as a human being.
Yeah, like we are so aligned, Michael. I can't even believe it. I mean, it just mentally and
I love to hear it.
spiritually, we are super aligned in the way that we look at things. So we're getting at towards the end of our time. If you were to give advice to an agent that was brand new going into the business, what would you share with them? What would you tell them they need to do?
I would tell them you need to learn how your subconscious mind works. That would be my number one piece of advice.
How would they go about doing that?
There is so many resources now with YouTube available. It is nuts. So I started with
Yeah.
books just because I didn't really know that this kind of stuff
Yep.
out there in YouTube,
Yep.
and I'm sure it wasn't as popular 9 years ago. I actually was
Yep.
introduced to these topics through a mentor of mine. He owns
Yep.
a hair salon. I actually do a podcast with him each week where we talk all things consciousness,
That's awesome.
related to how the subconscious mind works. But there are a
Yep.
lot of great resources now available on YouTube, online, where you can find this information, and you can start with some of, the greats. You can go back, you can read the Napoleon Hills. You can read my favorite part is going back and seeing how long this information has been shared, because you can see that this isn't
A
some
long time.
type of topic. This is millennia.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking for
Yep.
thousands of years. This goes back to the Bible.
Right.
You know, you know,
Right.
one of the best quotes from the Bible is, believe you have received it and it shall be yours. That's the truth.
Yep.
It is.
Yeah.
And when you begin
Yeah.
to embody that version of yourself, oh my gosh, stand back, because holy cow, opportunity after opportunity is going to become pouring your way. And that's what I'm all about, is helping others to see that light within them. Because as soon
Yeah.
as that you see that spark, there's no going back. There's no going
Yeah.
back to the old destructive me, the old beat myself up for all this, or I
Yep.
should have said that. Oh, if I see them again, I'm going to say this. No, 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 no. You're playing against yourself. And when you learn that this
Yep.
world is a reflection
For
of who you
sure.
are,
For
everything
sure.
changes.
Yep. Michael, this has been such a great conversation. You got me all fired up and pumped up. I'm ready to go rip it for another 8 hours.
Good.
So
Good. Me too.
I so appreciate this conversation. I appreciate you. I appreciate the opportunity to be in business with you as your partner. And just thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for all of those things.
Absolutely, James. It's an honor being here with you. I can't wait to see you when you come to town next. We'll have to go out and grab a lunch or a dinner whenever you visit Arizona.
Would love to do it.
Don't visit for the next 3 months. Let it get out of summer.
I will tell you that I spent the last several decades in Sacramento, and we have a lot of 105, 107 degree days.
Yeah.
And then I went to Arizona for the first time, and I walked outside. It was 118 degrees. And I'm telling you, that additional 10, 11 degrees is like, I don't know what did I just walk into an oven? Like, what the hell?
Truly.
Like, it's crazy.
The hard part is the nights. If we broke into the 70s, 80s at nights, it could be tolerable. But no, we hang in the high 90s, hundreds, even at sun, even in the dark, just because of this concrete jungle we live in. And brutal for 3 months. But then we're gorgeous for 8, 9 months out of the year.
Yeah, well, I don't mind the heat. I'm in Florida, and so we're warm here quite a bit. So, so
well,
anyhow,
I appreciate
Michael,
you. Truly, this was an honor being here on the show with you. I'd love to come back sometime and share more with you.
For sure. We'll have a lot more conversations, and if you come to Florida, we'll go out and go fishing and catch some snook.
I would love it. I would love that. That all sounds great, and I appreciate you taking the time today, James.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see you soon.